In this video, we will show you how to add, save and delete data, our design built in the sample discussed in the previous tutorial. First of all, let's work on the add functionality. Our goal is to be able to add authors and books separately. Let's start with authors. Create a static table under the combo box. We will need 2 columns and 1 row. Drag the button control into the second cell and name the button Add Author. And make it small. Then set the width property to wrap content. The first cell will stay empty. We will need it in our next tutorial. The next step is to assign actions to the button. In one of our previous tutorials, when we created the Edit Author subpage, we set a filter that selects a particular author with the author ID from the persistent tree. Therefore, our first action is to update the persistent attribute Edit ID with an empty string. Since the empty string matches no existing author ID, it will return no row, and we will go on to create a new author. The next action is to open the subpage, where we will fill in the details of a new author. Finally, the book catalog data source will be reloaded once the subpage is closed. Right-click the button and select Control Actions for OnButtonClicked. Drag the Update Nodes action to the OnClick section. Click the first XPath button. Double-click Edit ID in the persistent tree. Click the second XPath button. Then write 2 single quotation marks. They represent an empty string. Then drag the Go to Subpage action and select Edit Author. Select the checkbox Show Subpage as Modal dialog. Then set the width property to 90%. Finally, drag the Reload action and make sure Book Catalog is selected. We are done editing the main page. When we click the Add Author button, we will get to the Edit Author subpage. On this subpage, we need to set up an action that will create a new row in the data source with all attributes empty. Let's go to the Edit Author subpage. Right-click the subpage and select Page Actions. First, we need the app to check whether a row currently exists and if not created. Drag the If Then action to the workspace. Click the XPath button and write the following expression. The expression returns true if there is no row element in the Edit Author data source. If this condition is true, then we need the app to create a new row with all attributes empty. Drag the Append Nodes action under Then. Double-click Row Set in the data source. This is the element to which we will append a new element. Now we need to specify which element we are going to append. To get a blank tree structure that corresponds to the Edit Author data source, we will use the following function. It is important to know that there is auto-increment set for the primary keys in both tables. This means new IDs will be assigned to new records automatically, and we won't have to create additional actions to handle new IDs. Let's run the simulation to see how the Add Author functionality works. Let's add a new author. Then click Save. Our new author has been added to the list and successfully saved to the database. In the next step, we will create a Delete button and assign actions to it. The Delete button should prompt the user to verify whether they really want to delete the record. If the user clicks Yes, we should delete the record, save the data source, and close the subpage. Make sure you are on the Edit Author subpage. Create a Delete button next to the Discard button. And make it small. Now we're ready to define actions for this button. Drag the message box section to the OnClick section. Then select the option Yes, No. Then set the message as follows. Under Yes, drag the Delete Notes action. Double-click the row element in the data source. Then drag the Save action and select Edit Author. Finally, drag the Close Subpage action. Leave the No button empty as we don't want this button to perform any actions. Let's run the simulation and delete one of our authors. Then click Delete. To be able to add new books, we have created the Add New Book button on the main page. The actions of this button are very similar to the Add Author actions. The difference is we've got a new persistent attribute called Parent ID. We assign the author ID to this persistent attribute. To make an association between an author and their books, we need to know the author ID before going to the Edit Book subpage. Now let's take a look at the actions of the Edit Book subpage. Compared to the Edit Author subpage, we have an additional action here. We update the author ID attribute with the value of the persistent attribute Parent ID. This way, the book can be associated with a particular author. We have also created the Delete button for books. This button has actions that are very similar to the Delete Author actions. The difference is we delete the book row and then save the Edit Book data source. Let's run the simulation to test the Add Book functionality. Let's add a book to the author we added earlier. Let's continue filling in the fields. Now all the book details are ready and we can save the book. Now let's try deleting this book. Now you can see that the book has been deleted. The last touch is to pin down the top part of the main page. When you scroll down, the header, the general combo box, and the Add Author button will remain fixed on the page, and the list of records will slide under the top part. Make sure to select the table, then navigate to the Max Table Height property and set it to Rest of Screen Height Max. Then select the table with the Add Author button and set the bottom border width to 1 dp. Then set the color of the bottom border to gray. Finally, set the bottom margin to 2 dp. The bottom border will help us separate the top level from the rest of the page. Run the simulation to see how the Max Table Height property works. In our next tutorial, we will show you how to run a database search. You can try these features for yourself. Simply download the free Mobile Together designer from the Delta website.